Hi everyone, this is Tamara Sylvester with AwarenessSpeaks.com. Today I'm going to discuss the natal chart of Kobe Bryant. Now his birthday is August 23rd, 1978. He was born at 5 p.m. And I'm also going to look at his numerology chart as well, and I'm going to discuss the numbers of his life path and destiny and his personality just a little bit. I'll touch on that at the end, as well as the representations of what I see as his date of death and his jerseys, those numbers, how they all really fit with his astrology chart. Okay, so I'm going to try to be as precise as possible. If I make a little mistake here or there, I probably am aware of it. I'm going to try to do this in one shot. So if I make a mistake, please make a comment below as long as you are friendly with your comment. Otherwise, please, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all, as the saying says. But you're free to comment if you find that I do make a mistake, and I will comment, and you can let other people know as well. But otherwise, I'm going to start off now by discussing his chart. So when I look at Kobe's chart, what I see when I first look is I see that he has a grand trine. Okay, he has his Sun and Saturn in the 8th house in Virgo, with a grand trine in earth signs. 7 degrees Capricorn is his ascendant, and his moon sign is 11 degrees Taurus in the 4th house. And of course, his Sun, Saturn, and Mercury all in the 8th house. So that is a very earthy energy, a very practical energy. With that Saturn next to his Sun, he's going to have some Capricorn qualities to begin with. Not only is his Capricorn ascendant, Saturn is, the ruler of that Capricorn ascendant. So it's overlooking at, when you have that grand trine, people wondered why he was so disciplined, why he was so structured. This is a very regimented person, especially with the energy in the 8th house. Very careful with the steps, taking one step at a time. So his Sun was 0 degrees Virgo. His Saturn was 3 degrees Virgo. His ascendant is 7 degrees Capricorn. His moon is 11 degrees Taurus. So you have that real practical energy along with security. And because the moon is in the 4th house and the Sun is in the 8th house along with Saturn and Mercury, that gives it a very feeling energy. Usually the earthy energy is more practical, isn't as feeling and emotional. But with that moon placed in the 4th house, as you can see here in Taurus, and the moon, the 4th house rules the moon, and the 8th and the Sun in the 8th house, along with Mercury and Saturn, give a very intuitive, a very caring, someone who really is passionate. That 8th house is the ruler of Scorpio. So that is someone who is going to dig deep, who is going to look for answers, who's going to be methodical. That Scorpio they don't leave. Every page is turned in the book. They don't skip any steps, especially with Saturn sitting there. And that would make him a very structured person. He could also have some insecurity there. And that could be some of his reason why he was so diligent in what he did. He might have been overcompensating. Because that Sun and that Saturn are in the 8th house, that is a Scorpio energy. to me, that energy, they can overcome anything, as well as that Capricorn. They are sticking to it. Take 2 steps forward, 3 back, but they will keep going. And then he has that moon, which I say in Taurus, which gives him a very pleasant energy, a very caring energy, especially in the 4th house. Taurus rules security and money in the material world. Cancer is your home and security that way. So with the 2 of them together, those are the 2 nice signs for the moon. And so with his moon in Taurus in the 4th house would give him a very caring person and someone who is very family oriented. Not only that, but he has his Jupiter in Cancer as well. And let's see, in the 7th house, which rules partnerships. And so with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, that would also give a very caring, nurturing energy with others in all relationships. And it's overlooking the 1st house of self. So it would give a very optimistic, a very visionary person, and a very inspirational person as well. And that is what I see for him, especially when it's looking toward the 1st house and looking toward the 4th and the midheaven as well. So when you look at the midheaven, you'll see this Jupiter as well. It's squaring his midheaven, which is his public life. So his Jupiter is square his Scorpio midheaven. Jupiter at 27 degrees Cancer, square his Scorpio midheaven at 2 degrees. So this, again, he has that Sun, Saturn, and Mercury in the 8th house, which gives him a very passionate, a very Plutonian Scorpio energy, with it being in the 8th house. But then when he has his midheaven at the 8th house as well, and Jupiter squaring that, Jupiter is bright. I mean, Jupiter, was supposed to be a, was it a sun? I think. I can't remember. But you look outside, and if you don't see any other planet in the sky, you see one, it will be Jupiter. That's how bright it shines. It is the spiritual energy, the energy of expansion, optimism, higher learning, languages, international travel. And that is square his ascendant, or his midheaven, as well as his IC, which would be his home life. So it's square the 4th house as well. So that would give him a very caring nature in the house, very optimistic, could bring a nice home as well, since Jupiter is expansion and large and everything big. So this is what gave him his bigger than life personality and an inspiration, because the midheaven is your public life and your career. And to me as well, that's where he could have that vision of the game, and why he was so inspirational, and why he could see everything beneath the surface. And the 3rd house, which is the opposite sign of Sagittarius, which Jupiter rules Sagittarius, it's its ruler. But Jupiter's opposite sign is Gemini. So Jupiter's 9th house, its ruling house, it rules the higher education, like your college education. And the 3rd house, Gemini, rules your everyday education up to 12th grade, and your everyday the way you communicate on a regular basis. With him having that 9th house, That's a visionary. That's thinking outside the box, where the third house is more limited. The ninth house is an expansion. It's an expanded energy. So he has his Jupiter there square that midheaven. So he also has his ninth house, which is Jupiter. It rules this ninth house. He has Mars there, he has Pluto there, and he has Venus there. Very much a Jupiter energy, very inspiring, very outgoing, very optimistic, a visionary again. And he has Mars, Pluto, and Venus in Libra, in the relationship house, which Jupiter here already in relationships. He has Jupiter in the 7th house in Cancer. That's the relationship house, the partnership house. And then he has his Mars, Pluto, and Venus in Libra, all conjunct in the 9th house. So again, relationships, extremely important. A strong personality with that Pluto and Mars, and that is square his ascendant. So Mars and Pluto and Venus are 12, 14, and 16 degrees. So the 12 Mars and the 14 Pluto are really close to making a square to the Capricorn ascendant. So Mars is the ruler of the first house, and that is a strong, he has Pluto there as well, overlooking that first house. That's determination, that's power, that's control, that's extreme confidence, that Mars energy. But it's in Libra, so even his relationships might have been going through a lot of transformation, people that he came in contact with. And his Venus is there in Libra. And I'm just going to touch on this. His wife's moon sign was Libra. So this Mars, Pluto, and Venus were all conjunct her moon. And his moon is Taurus, and her sun is Taurus. And there's a huge conjunction there. His moon is 11 degrees Taurus, and her moon, I think, was 12 or something like that. I don't know the exact because you don't have the time of birth, but I know there was a conjunction. So that's where this exchange energy between the two were taking place. Not only that, but Gigi's sun sign was Taurus as well. And when someone, especially Kobe, he has his moon in Taurus and in the 4th house, where its ruler be a very caring and nurturing to the sun sign. So they are the supporter of the sun sign, which is his wife and Gigi. So it's really interesting that he was even with his daughter at this passing. And with that Jupiter in going back to Jupiter in Cancer and the moon in Taurus in the 4th house, that Cancer energy, even with Jupiter there, it's a very nice energy, but Jupiter with Cancer, that's the female energy. So that's where I feel like he would be very comfortable, especially with his moon in the 4th house as well, very comfortable with women. And with Jupiter in Cancer, and it being the ruler of the 4th house, he even having 4 girls, to me, having 4 children is quite large for nowadays. Usually 3, but to have 4, and then they all be female energy, where he is very much a male energy. He is very much that Pluto. He has a lot of Pluto energy, that strong energy. But this Cancer energy, Jupiter in Cancer and that moon in Taurus, give him a softer side. And he also has Neptune in Sagittarius in the 12th house, making a trine to his Mercury in Leo in the 8th house, also giving him that very empathetic, very caring energy, a little bit softer energy than a regular Mercury in Leo would be, because a regular Mercury in Leo, okay, they're dynamic, they're funny, they're impressional, they're charismatic. They rule the fifth house, which is even children, so they can be somewhat childlike, but that could be very creative energy and a great speaker, very dynamic. So this is probably where his sense of humor and why he was so funny as well. And then he had that Neptune in Sagittarius, which Sagittarius is a visionary, and the Neptune is kind of like the dreamy. So he was able to write books, and he was able to, I think he acted at some point, but I feel like he was extremely intuitive with that Sun, excuse me, Mercury and Saturn, especially Sun and Mercury in the eighth house, which is a water sign, is ruled by Pluto and Scorpio. So you have this here, which is a water sign, even though they're Earth. His moon sign is in Taurus in the fourth house, which rules Cancer, and Neptune in Sagittarius, which rules Pisces. So you almost have a trine energy of houses, water sign houses with great energy. So this would give him a really intuitive, psychic, feeling his way around. He knew when to act, when to go, when to move, especially with his Mercury trine, that energy. So a very dynamic energy. And he also had Mars, Pluto, and Venus. I'm not sure if I said this, but it's square his ascendant. I'm not sure if I said this. Please excuse me if I said it again. So that Pluto and Mars especially, I think I did, along with squaring his Capricorn ascendant. Capricorn and Scorpio, that Pluto and Mars and Aries energy, and Aries is looking at its own house. The first house is its ruler. Strong energy, very solid person. Yeah, I think I said that already, but whatever. So then I'm looking at the 10th house, which Uranus is in the 10th house. Okay, Uranus is the spiritual awakener, and this is where I believe this energy correlates with his life path 11, because Uranus in astrology goes with the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius in astrology rules the 11th house, and this was his life path number. And when he passed away, you can even go and look at my transit reading. Uranus, I feel, played a huge, along with the eclipse, played a huge role in his sudden departure, because Uranus is sudden change. And he had that in Scorpio in his 10th house of career. So it was opposite his moon in the 4th house. So I would think there would be a little bit of a nervous condition with that, especially even with Mercury in the 8th house and the Sun and Saturn in Virgo, that rules the mind. And then you have Uranus opposite his moon. Could be somewhat of a nervous energy. And this is why maybe he kept going, felt like nothing was ever good enough, especially in Scorpio. They are the ones who will dominate because it rules, the power. Pluto ruling the power, which is the ruler of Scorpio. Getting to the bottom, seeing everything beneath the surface. And he called himself the Black Mamba, which he said was referred to as a snake when he was out on the floor playing basketball. He said anything in his way, he would bite you. That's almost like the Scorpio stinger, which Scorpio is the ruler of his midheaven, and Uranus in his 10th house, which is his public life and career. Scorpio is the stinger. They will sting you if you are in their way. So a lot, to me, the Uranus is the awakener. And that's why I say his life path, as well, being the number 11, is the spiritual awakener, is the spiritual teacher, is come here. Everyone has come here for a purpose. But 11 energy is more of a spiritual energy and a teacher, and is helping people, inspiring people on their path and helping people awake to a bigger picture. And with his Uranus being in the 12th house opposite his moon, and he left this earth on a Uranus energy, he passed away during the energy of Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. I feel this passing was his time to go. And I don't believe in accidents to begin with. I believe that if it's your time, it's your time. But when it's such a tragedy like that is when it's so difficult. And but I also believe that when you have someone who's bigger in life, bigger than life, personality, and loved by so many, his passing almost had to be just as big. And with his Sun and Saturn in the 8th house, which is the ruler of Pluto and death and rebirth, that's just really interesting. And you go back and read my transit. Uranus at that time was at 2 degrees as his passing in his 4th house of home, making a trine to his Sun and Saturn, which is the Sun in the 8th house, death and rebirth, Pluto. Saturn is karmic. I feel like this was just, it was his time. And I feel like his daughter, because her sun sign was Taurus, that she was almost like bringing him home. And I think these two had this special bond, and they left this earth together. It's difficult to say, but I don't know. I've been studying metaphysical and holistic teachings for over 20 years. And when you see the bigger picture, there's more of an understanding and acceptance of death. He also has Chiron. For those of you who know about Chiron, next to his moon, conjunct his moon, and it's 9. Oh my goodness, I just realized this. His Chiron is 9. His moon is 11. Those are his two main numbers in his life path. 9, 11. Oh my goodness. I'll get to his numerology, but that has a huge, I just noticed that. Anyway, the Chiron is the wounded healer. And he might have had, I don't know, people can tell me if he had some family difficulties. I know he moved around a lot, and this would be this Uranus energy is a lot of change, and that's opposite the 4th house in the home. So constant moving all the time. I'm not sure. I know he was living in Italy, but I'm not quite sure how much he moved. But with his Venus, Pluto, and Mars being in the 9th house, which is the ruler of Jupiter and Sagittarius, international relationships and international places, his Venus being there as well, his wife coming from another country, his Venus being in Libra, that's also very, very interesting. So I think I'm going to wrap this up with the astrology. And I'm not sure if I said that his Sun and Saturn, but are also trine. Oh yes, because I talked to the grand trine, his 4th house. Yeah, I spoke of that already. So anyway, that's it for his astrology. Let me quick jump to his numerology. Trying to get through this so it's not too long. his numerology, for those, a lot of people aren't as aware of numerology as astrology. So numerology, you take your date of birth has a meaning. That means your life path, which is the most prominent number in numerology. And then your birth name that you were given at birth is what you call your destiny. And Kobe's life path was 11. That is what we call a master number. And it's also a spiritual awakener, a spiritual teacher. And they usually have to go through some type of crisis in their life for their spiritual side to wake up, so to speak, and they come into themselves. When you can't live in the higher energy of the 11, you live in the 2 energy. You add them together. So all numbers in numerology you reduce to a single digit, except for master numbers 11, 22, and 33. And so that 11 number is a very spiritual number, and they are here to teach, help awaken. And that 11 number goes along with his Uranus energy, which Uranus rules the 11th house and the energy that he passed away with. So there you go. And just to give you an example, Barack Obama is a life path 11. Bill Clinton is 11. Jennifer Lopez is 11. Oprah was born on the 29th, which is 11, but she is an Aquarius, Aquarius rules Uranus, and Aquarius rule the 11th house in astrology. Ellen is an Aquarius. Eckhart Tolle is an Aquarius. So that energy, that's why I truly believe that his energy and his passing, he was just meant to go when he left. And then his expression, which is destiny, is 9. And so that is what I'm talking about, this 9 and 11. And his Chiron, which is called the wounded healer, is conjunct his moon at 11. Unbelievable. Right here in the 4th house there. And 9, 11, those numbers in general, we have cycles that go from 1 to 9, 9 being the ending. So that is a very humanitarian number. It is attracted to all kinds of movements. You really feel like you have a purpose. It goes along with the Virgo energy, because although Virgo begins in August, the main part of Virgo is in the 9th house. So there again, that goes with that 9 energy of his sun, his Virgo sun. Very compassionate, very self-sacrificing, always doing something for a cause, something bigger than himself. That's a universal number, and a lot of trust has to go with this number. And it's a very humanitarian and a broad view of humanity. So this also goes with the energy of the 9th house in astrology, which is Jupiter, the visionary, the spiritual energy. So gives a very impressional personality. So then we go down to his heart's desire, which is the vowels in his name, which is also another 9. Then we go to his personality, which is the consonants in his name, which again is another 9. Then we go to his maturity, which after 35 you get to this maturity number, and that again is 11. So he has a lot of those 9s and 11s in his chart. And think of 9/11, 2001, when we had the attacks in New York, well, everywhere, but mainly in New York, where 911 is like emergency, but you put the two together. 9 is universal. It's a spiritual energy. It's a Sagittarius energy, a Jupiter energy. And then you have 11, which is a spiritual energy as well. And sudden departure. Uranus rules that number 11, but it's a spiritual, it's a master number. Then you add the 9 plus 1, 1 again, you get 11 again. Those numbers, I don't believe were an accident, whether that was planned for that day or not, or if it was just life working out that way. But to me, there are no accidents. So that is how you combine all of those energies, and that's how I look at the energies in the chart. He has a lot of Venus energy, that Venus, Pluto, and Mars, going back to his astrology in Libra, that's ruled, Venus rules Libra. His moon in Taurus, Venus also rules Taurus, another love, very compassionate, very loving, caring person. And then he has that Sun, Mercury, Saturn in an Earth sign, Virgo, but in the 8th house of Scorpio. So it has some Scorpion energy, along with his midheaven being Scorpio, his Uranus being in 10 degrees Scorpio in his 10th house of career, and his moon being in the opposite sign. And along with that very Saturn, his ascendant being Capricorn, and his Saturn next to his sun in the 8th house is a very Saturnian energy, which is a very Capricorn energy, and also very karmic. And that being in the house of death and rebirth. And with Uranus being at 2 degrees when he passed on the second house of his 4th house cusp, which is his home, trine his Sun and Saturn in the 8th house. There you go. Uranus is unexpected. It's looking at the 8th house, which is death, and 8th, and also his Saturn there, which is karma. So this is how I read this chart. Okay, now I would like to get to his numbers. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time. Maybe I will do that in another video. I will tell you how I see the numbers of his number 24 and 6. Let me quick tell you. I hope this video doesn't run out because it only gives me so much time. So this is how his numbers also relate to his chart. 24, okay? No, first let's go to 6. 6 in astrology, the 6th house. Virgo rules the 6th house, okay? His sun sign was Virgo. Then his 24 number, 2 in astrology, the 2nd house is the ruler of Taurus. That is his moon sign. Moon is in Taurus. The 4 energy is the 4th house in astrology is Cancer. That his moon is in in Taurus in the 4th house. There you get the Taurus and Cancer energy, 24. So that is that energy. Then you add the 2 and the 4 again together, you get 6. You get that sun sign again, that Virgo energy. So very, very telling. When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness. And then you get the date of his birth. He died during Aquarius energy, which is that Uranus energy, which Uranus rules the 11th house in astrology, which is his numerology number 11. Then he passed away on the 26th. Again, the 26th, the 2 again is the Taurus, is his ruler of his moon sign, Taurus. The 6 in the 6th house in astrology, the 6th house is ruled by Virgo, which is his sun sign. Then you combine the 2 to bring it to a single digit, which is 8, which is the ruler of Scorpio, the 8th house in astrology. And that is where his sun sign, it's also karmic. What goes around comes around, where his Saturn is. Voila. So interesting when I saw that. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Please send your prayer energy to all of the victims. They need light as well, everyone who has passed away, and to the survivors. Please send your energy, your peace, your light, whatever you believe in, send it to the survivors as well as to the deceased. Because when someone passes in such a tragic accident, especially with Kobe being so well known, they would like to be more earthbound because they're feeling everyone's pain. So we need to lift them up and send them light so they can be at peace as well. All right. Again, my name is Tamara Sylvestre. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can check out my website at awarenesspeaks.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.